Good afternoon. You're listening to My Conscious Dad on your hometown station, AM 1220 KHTS. I'm your host, Jasmine Urbina, here in the studio with my dad and co-host, Alex Urbina. And today we are going to be talking about extraordinary relationships.
Yeah, I think that we should probably first talk about what a relationship looks like for you and for me. So let's start off with me throwing that question at you. What does a relationship look like to you? Like, how do you define relationship?
To me, a relationship is really any type of interaction you have with somebody has already established a relationship.
Okay. For me, a relationship is two individuals having a connection with each other, and it's an opportunity for each of us to share our lives with each other. And it's quite often that people either aren't aware or consciously present about looking at how they define a relationship, and so many of them are in relationships and not really knowing what the meaning is, or aware that they can actually keep reinventing the meaning so that the meaning becomes important to them and that the meaning is valuable. So in with that being said, is there a possibility that people are in relationships and have engaged in relationships that really don't sorry, that really don't have an idea of what a relationship is, and really have a good sense of the value of a relationship?
Yeah, I think, like I had said, as soon as you interact or engage with somebody, you've already established some type of relationship.
You're already in it.
Right. So whether it's a coworker, someone you just met on the street, your husband, your wife, whatever, your kids, those are all relationships. So if you're not even aware that, you're in a relationship with your coworker, which a lot of people don't think they are, then I don't know how extraordinary your relationships with your husbands and your wives and your kids are going to be.
I like that. So what you're saying is that you can unconsciously be in a relationship and not even realize that you're in one. And once you start to realize, I guess I am in a relationship. In fact, you're probably in relationship to everything around you. I'm in a relationship to my job. I'm in a relationship with my car. I'm in a relationship with my pain. I'm in a relationship with my emotions. We can actually be in a relationship to everything. Right? So we're opening up that possibility that you're in relationship to everything. And once I change how I'm in a relationship to things, then that relationship starts to change too. And now there's a possibility that your relationship has different levels. 0 to 10, 0 meaning that the relationship isn't as effective or giving you the kinds of rewards and goodies that most of us yearn for, and 10 being like, extraordinary, out of this world kind of relationship where I'm experiencing joy and passion and peace and freedom and all the happiness and all those goodies that we yearn for.
Yeah, I think, like you said, we are in relationship to everything, and that involves things. Like you said, you're in a relationship with your car, with your job, and a lot of people don't have that concept understood or don't believe in that kind of concept. And I think just knowing that and understanding that is going to lead to better relationships with the people that you actually do believe you're in relationships with, like your kids and your parents. And I also, if I could just share an example, this is like kind of something I was thinking, and I'm not sure if it kind of is along the same lines, but if you have a watch that your grandmother gave you, you're in relationship to that watch, and all of a sudden now you're going to take care of it more than you're going to take care of the watch that you bought the other day. Now this watch means so much more to you. So if you think you're not in relationship to that watch, then give me your watch and then see what happens. That's something that you don't want to give up because now it has value to you.
Yeah, and that was what I was going to point out, was that now all of a sudden that watch has a certain meaning. You've decided that it has value, and you're the meaning maker. You're the one deciding that that watch or whatever relationship that you're in has a certain meaning, has certain value. And you're the one that's deciding that, not anyone else. You've made up a belief that this relationship is okay, or I've accepted it, or I'm tolerating it, or I'm not tolerating it, I'm not accepting it, and I'm choosing to have it look different. And you're the one that's actually the one in the driver's seat, whether you're consciously or unconsciously settling for the relationship or making a commitment to make it a more grander, more bigger experience, a more fulfilling experience for yourself.
Yeah, and again, like we're saying, it's like, you know how people say, "Oh, that my husband's married to his job," because he has a relationship with his job that's more important than his wife and his kids and his family.
Based on results,
Right.
not based on you're just deciding that with.
Well, if whoever's saying the sentence, so my husband is married to his job, in her experience as the wife, that relationship is more important than her kids, the family.
That's correct, because she's got evidence from her experience that either he spends more time or he's being a certain way when he's with her in her relationship that doesn't seem to be as equal or greater value than he is when he's at his job. Like, he might be excited about his job and really when he comes home he's talking about his job, but when he talks to her about the relationship it doesn't seem to match up. It seems to be that, I see this light in your eyes when you're talking about your job and what you're doing, but when you talk about a relationship it doesn't seem to match. So she's creating some validation from her experience that he's in a much greater relationship with his job rather than the relationship that he has with her.
Right.
So now we're talking about relationship. What does an extraordinary relationship look like? What is it? What's the goodies underneath the relationship that takes it from good, average or good to better or great to extraordinary? Because there's different levels when we come to relationships.
Right. And I think that, I guess, it's all perspective, so all point of view. So if I say my relationships are extraordinary, it's because I see them as extraordinary, and I see value in those relationships, and I put time and effort into those relationships, where the other person on the other end of that relationship could be saying, "Oh, we're just good friends." Where to me, I love this person. They're so great. They're my best friend. So I think what makes an extraordinary relationship is you and all the effort or time or love or energy that you put into it.
And it sounds like you're also saying the perspective shift that you created.
Right.
Because there could be two people in a relationship, and your perspective, in your point of view, and your experience of the relationship is extraordinary, but meanwhile on the other end the other person is not having an extraordinary experience. They're having just an okay or average experience. So what you're saying is all in the perspective.
Yeah.
And I agree. I think that perspective is everything, right? Perspective is what gives meaning to all things, and it's within me to decide that I'm going to keep reinventing or keep re-altering my perspective so that I can actually start to experience the extraordinary inside of that relationship. But I want to go over some key distinctions that I've been learning about reinventing myself in relationships so that they become extraordinary. For one, I've learned, and I'm still learning, that a relationship isn't something for me to get out of. I'm starting to realize and learn that a relationship is just an opportunity or a space for me to give into the relationship. When I looking back, realizing when I first started becoming aware of what relationships mean to me, I wasn't aware that I was in relationships because I needed something specific from somebody. So if I have an insecurity, or if I have self-doubts, or if I have fears, if I have, things that interpersonally I need to work on, then I might be in a relationship with you because I need you to fill that void for me. And if I'm unaware and unconscious, I don't realize that that's what I'm doing. But I've entered in this relationship with you because there's certain needs that aren't met, and I don't know how to create them from within myself. So I engage in that relationship because I think that you're going to bring that for me. So then I'm going to enter now in a relationship expecting you to make me feel loved. I'm going to go into a relationship expecting you to make me feel safe, make me feel secure. So I'm in that relationship needy. I'm now in that relationship invested in you giving me something. And so what extraordinary relationships looks like to me is that I've worked on myself, and that I've done enough spiritual, emotional, and mental and physical work on myself that I get myself to a higher level of consciousness. So I'm freed up to be in that relationship not needing anything from you. And when I don't need anything from you, now it frees me up to be able to fully accept whatever it is that you give me and be grateful for it.
And I think not needing each other also opens up to and frees you to give more, which ultimately is, I think, the highest form of, I don't want to say love, but giving love or giving your energy, your time, to me is the highest form of love, to just give unconditionally. And another thing I wanted to kind of add about the not needing each other kind of thing is, not needing each other is not just an extraordinary relationship, it's a healthy relationship. And because when you need somebody, all of a sudden it becomes a little bit unhealthy.
Well, let's talk about that for a moment. So when you say that needing somebody or something from somebody is more like it's making a statement that I don't have it. And if I don't have it, then, and I've decided that you have it for me, then I'm now codependent or dependent on what it is that I think you have that I don't. And so now I'm in that relationship, and it appears to be unhealthy, because if I don't have it, I'm now going to do whatever I can and alter myself, do certain things that I don't like to do, sell out on myself, give up on some of my morals and my values to kind of do this little happy dance around you until you give me those goodies that I'm looking for. And this is very common for, husbands or wives or, men or women that are in relationships, where they'll come to me and they'll say, I feel like I've lost myself in a relationship. And it's like, okay, well, why do you feel that? And they say, I don't know who I am anymore, because I've turned myself into so many things to keep getting that goodie from my partner, because I never had it from within myself to start with. And I think that's a huge awareness, is you realizing that there could be some things that you're specifically in a relationship because you need those, and maybe never in 5, 10, 20, 50 years have realized that you started in that relationship needing some specific things from your partner, and that you've constantly been yearning for those and turning yourself inside out to try to get them to fulfill something inside of you.
Yeah, and I think what makes a healthy and successful, extraordinary relationship would just be seeing those things that you want and not needing it from them, but letting them inspire you to be that way or do those things so that you can give those things to yourself.
I love that.
And you don't need them.
I love that, because what it implies is that what it is I'm looking for from you, I actually already have it within myself. So let me figure out how to tap into that. And that's a lot of some of the coaching that I do, is help people tap into their own personal power and their own goodies that they have within themselves. And so once I can tap into that, then I can bring forth of that in from myself, and then I can now share that with you. So that which I was yearning for from you, I can actually develop that within myself. And then once I develop within myself, now I can give that to you and give it to you unconditionally.
Yeah, it's kind of like the saying when they say you complete me, it's kind of like you can also see it as all those other things that would technically complete you, you can have too. But I guess technically you did need them to see that those are the things you wanted, or those are the things that were going to make you whole or complete you, that you can get yourself.
And I'm glad you brought up the "you complete me" line. And
are you going to bring up was it Tom Cruise?
You forgot, right? Or you remember Jerry Maguire?
Yeah, okay.
Yeah. And so when you come from the "you complete me," paradigm, looking for people in relationships to give you those things that you don't realize you need, you're basically making a statement that you don't have it. And you never will. But once you start to wake up and realize that, hey, there's a possibility that maybe I do have it. And if I might have it, how do I find it? How do I discover that? And that's the awareness that we're talking about. That's the waking up and being a little bit more conscious to realizing that you might have some specific things that's magical and magnificent and amazing and extraordinary about you that you haven't tapped into. And if I could tap into that, where do I go to tap into that? What do I need to do? Send me to a place, or send me down a road so I can figure out and have that awareness and have that experience and that aha moment to see how great I am, to see my greatness. I want to fully actualize who I am. I want to know. I want to have a glimpse of how amazing I am, that I don't have to go and search for it externally, whether it's consciously or unconsciously.
I think it, now that we're, talking about being conscious and especially being a conscious parent, there's a lot of parents out there who need to be needed by their kids,
Absolutely.
especially as they get older and they want to start doing things on their own. And that right there is you setting your kid up and you making it so that you guys are in an unhealthy relationship. And I've I'm obviously not a parent, but I can see how being in a relationship where a parent needs to be needed by you could be a little bit unsettling for a kid, and a big turn off as far as wanting to come home for Christmas break when you go to college, and come home and visit your family when you have your own family. And those kinds of things are going to eventually come up for them down the line.
So imagine you're a parent, right? And your son or daughter is 3 or 4 years old, or even since the day they were born. You have this emotional tank, right? That's going on. It's you got it inside of you, and we'll just visualize this like propane tank, but it's an emotional tank, and it's only half full. And you have this beautiful baby that needs you, and now all of a sudden you have realized this is my purpose. This is, I have now identity, I have value. And you give all your heart and soul to this little baby, and you raise this baby, and you spend a lot of time and energy because you're needed. This baby needs you, and your whole life and your whole self-worth and value becomes this great mom or this great dad that's really going to contribute to the growth of your son or daughter. And that's now filling up the rest of your tank 50%. So now you're 100%, you're fulfilled externally through being this parent, being needed by this, little boy or little girl. And now they grow up age 13, 14, 15, and they start realizing, hey, I have my own wings that I can actually start flying, and I have my own tank, and I want to go out and fulfill my tank. And they start leaving your nest, now going to try to fulfill themselves. Now your son or daughter is in their 19, 20, and they go off to college, and all of a sudden you're not needed anymore. And you stop fulfilling that other second half of your 50%. This is quite often where I'll have either moms or dads come to me and say, I feel empty now because my son or daughter is gone and they no longer need me. And it was really in the air of not realizing that you needed to fulfill your own tank first so that you didn't have your son or daughter filling that tank up for you. And then get to the point and realize that whatever it was that they had and they were giving me is now gone.
Yeah, it's actually funny because I'm thinking of overflow, and I have a friend she's kind of all excited about this theory of overflow that I guess you taught her or opened up to her, and I guess and for her it's giving from overflow, and I'm kind of imagining a parent giving from overflow so that way when they aren't needed anymore and they aren't giving from that place, all of a sudden it's not overflowing. It's just right there at the top full.
That's right. And you don't feel like you're not depressed and sad and, oh my God, it's like, you'll say, oh, your daughter's gone in college for the last month or two. How do you feel? Oh my God, I'm miserable. I'm crying every night. And it's not that you shouldn't cry or not feel sad because your kids are gone. When you moved out to college, I was a mess, but it wasn't from it was only because I loved you so much that I wanted to, continue that relationship. I knew that I was gonna have to reinvent that relationship, but it wasn't coming from a place of lack. Like I needed you there. It was more from, okay, now I got to figure out where to send some of the rest of this overflow to. Does that make sense? So there's a difference. There's a healthy missing somebody, and then there's an unhealthy missing somebody. The unhealthy missing somebody is because they were giving you some goodies. They were filling your tank because your tank was empty. It had some room in there. It had an empty void that was fulfilling you, rather than my tank is already full and I was giving my kids that from the overflow.
Yeah, and it almost makes me kind of wonder, are you missing them or are you missing the things that they gave you? And that kind of, not that means that you don't love them, but maybe it means that you love the things they give you more.
That's right. Now let's talk about what that could be. When we talk about what could your kids be giving you, what could some of those tangible things be that your kids were giving you that you didn't realize?
I think kids give parents, one, attention, and two, they give them a lot of excuses, which to me looks like if if you didn't get somewhere in your life, or maybe you didn't clean the kitchen, or whatever it is that you didn't do, or a goal you didn't accomplish, you get to use your kid as an excuse.
Okay.
And I think I experience a lot of parents like that. So that's something I've just started to realize. But another thing could be just the overall, I guess, generalness of being needed and being worthy or feeling important.
So now there's a possibility that your kids were giving you or are giving you an excuse not to take responsibility for your own life or take responsibility for whatever it is that you could be owning up to. Mm-hmm. Another thing that your kids could be giving you that you don't realize is a sense of purpose.
Right.
Right? But once they're gone, now what's your purpose?
Maybe you don't have one yet.
And that's the point I wanted to make, is that a purpose isn't when you hit your life, when you finally decide what your life purpose is, like, oh my God, now I know what my purpose in life is. It's usually not attached to something that can leave and not be there anymore. Mm-hmm. A life purpose is something that is general, but it's not specific on one certain thing. It's not external. It's more like an overall thing. Like, it doesn't matter whether one thing comes and goes. It's really big. It's really grand. So you got to be open to the possibility that your kids give you something specific and tangible that you already have within you, but you haven't been taught how to go within yourself and discover what that is, so that you're fulfilled within yourself, not looking for fulfillment externally, which actually doesn't exist.
I was just gonna say, it's almost like parents, or not just parents, anybody, if you're looking for happiness or fulfillment anywhere else other than yourself, it's like you waste your whole life looking for something that doesn't exist. And it's kind of, I guess, could be a mind-blowing realization for you if you've never heard that before, or if you've never really grasped the concept. But it's something that I kind of realized a couple years ago and thought, like, oh my God, I could have spent my whole life looking for something, looking for someone, or something that was going to make me happy or make me feel like I'm important, or whatever my purpose would be, would rely on something that doesn't even exist.
Rather than realizing that I love myself enough, and that is what really matters.
Yep.
Hold on.
Five.
No, what I was trying to do was ask you to pause and leave some real silence there so that it lands. But I guess this is universal for give me high five.
Okay, if you put your hand up, that means high five.
I guess that's a symbol for it.
I was excited because I thought that was a good idea.
You rock.
All right, stay tuned for more of My Conscious Dad right here on your hometown station, AM 1220 KHTS.